Now listen, I'm going to say the most important sentence to you. You will quit me before I will ever quit you.
Welcome to MLM Nation, a podcast of leaders, by leaders, for leaders, hosted by Simon Chan. He's built a team of over 200,000 and is now a full-time MLM coach and trainer. So if you're ready to level up your business, join us now. Let's do this.
Hey, MLM Nation, this is Simon Chan, and I'm fired up because I'm going to take you way back in the time machine to the father of a legend. Actually, he is a legend himself. Simon Brookes. This was original episode. It was 174 back in 2015, 2016. I believe I recorded in 2015 and we aired it in 2016. And there's a story about this, right? And if you don't know who this legend is, it's Simon Brookes. But who is Simon? Simon Brookes, hey, is not my brother Simon. It's actually Simon Brookes is the father of the legend, the ninja networker, Fraser Brookes. And so share a story about this. Simon Brookes is a legend, back then when we started, and the importance of follow up. Doesn't matter what you do. But this is back then. Not many people know about podcasting. This was 10 years ago, right? 2015, 2014. Leaders are all busy. There was no such thing as Facebook Lives, no such thing as Instagram. TikTok was even invented. And I reached out to this guy I knew was a legend in the UK. I wanted to get some British leaders as well. Heard about this guy, Simon Brookes, and just reached out to him. And on Facebook, took me numerous reach outs. Finally, he replied back and it just repeated. And I said, hey, I'd love to have you on the show. He's like, sure. And then finally, he still didn't do it. It was his birthday. I sang happy birthday to him. He still didn't do it. And then finally, I think after like 10 months, 11 months, he finally relented and said, hey, I think he was just testing me out, right? I think that's why you got to be consistent. All successful people, they know everyone can do something once. They know everyone can get excited for just a short amount of time, but can you stay for a long time? And I knew that Simon Brookes was like, hey, if I was just going to be a quick sizzle and then fizzle away, then why would he spend like an hour of his time with me sharing on the podcast? That's not going to keep going on anymore. So he wanted me to show I was real. And through the repeated follow-ups that he finally did it. And gosh, I'm so grateful he did. An amazing interview. We're talking about how to get confidence. And by the way, all these episodes I'm re-airing, they are in the MLM Nation archive. A lot of you don't know about it. Just the way iTunes had it, they made us create a separate podcast. So the first 300 episodes were just golden nuggets here, whether it's this episode with Simon Brookes, legends from Danny Johnson, Big Al Schreider, Randy Gage. They're all on the first 300. Just search for MLM Nation Archive. You have them up. And this year, we've been rebroadcasting a lot of these episodes because even though they're 9, 10 years old, it's timeless advice that still applies today. Because at the end of the day, I just interviewed seven-figure, an amazing leader, Maria Mariano. And this episode is one of the best interviews I had, right? And it's going to come out in August. And I asked her, how has the profession changed in the last 40 years? She's been there for almost 40 years. She said, it hasn't. It's still a relationship business. And the principles, whether it's social media, whether face-to-face, the principles of human interaction, what you do, what you shouldn't do, are still the same. And at the end of the day, it's still about confidence, selling the dream, selling yourself. So we're going to go back to, and I'll share the story about Fraser, the recap, but let's go right into the amazing episode with Simon Brookes, and he's talking about unlocking your confidence. So let's go check it out. MLM Nation, this is Simon Chan, and I am fired up to bring our special guest today from the UK, Simon Brookes. Simon, are you ready to make it happen?
I sure am. How you doing, Simon?
Simon Brookes left school at 16 to work at his dad's grocery store. He soon met his wife and moved to the north of England and then came across a newspaper ad for MLM. Simon joined, he got started, and as he says in his own words, he kept going because he didn't know how to quit. Simon eventually went on to earn over $12.5 million and built a team with over 156,000 distributors and retired from MLM. He is an MLM legend. However, Simon soon realized that no one successful really retires and just sits at home, does nothing. So Simon got back into the game and into MLM. And in less than 4 years, he's built a team of over 80,000 distributors. And one of his proudest achievements is that he's helped his son create a 6-figure income in MLM as well. So Simon, I've given MLM Nation just a brief intro, but please share more about your background and how you came across network marketing.
Okay, yeah, it's quite simple, really. Going back, I've been involved full-time as a networker for around 28 and a half years. But when I first joined, I actually was involved in my mum and dad's shop. But the trouble is, all my friends used to turn around and say, oh, it would be all right for Brooksy. It'd be his one day. So I said, nah, I'm never going to have that. So I went to my bank manager and said, I want to borrow some money and I want to buy my own shop. So we did that. And I went on holiday, met my wife of my dreams, and we got our own business. And the trouble was, the idea was to build it up, sell it, buy another one, build it up, sell it, buy another one. Because obviously in the supermarket business, you don't make money while you're in that trade. You only make money when you sell it. So we then sold that. We moved up to the northwest of England, and I bought a house. I thought I had this idea where I could buy this large detached house and I could share all the bedrooms. There was 5 bedrooms. So I could rent 5 bedrooms out, and the 3 reception rooms, we had 2 lounges and a dining room. I could rent those out to other tenants. So we could have our own bedroom and we could rent it to people that we didn't know. Now, if you were to say to me 28 years later, Simon, would you ever do that again? No way, Jose. But it's amazing what you do. So we rent it out to like 5 strangers that we don't know. Funny enough is the first tenant that we had is now one of our best friends and is godfather to our children and everything else. But we didn't rent it to, we call it DSS in this country. You might call it Social Security. It was professional people. It was either dentists, doctors, or so forth. So anyway, one of these friends of mine who was a dentist had a newspaper because we shared the kitchen. And I was looking at the newspaper and I came across Business to Business. And it says, I drive an Aston Martin. I make millions. MLM. I do this and I do that. MLM. So this was on a Sunday. And I went into my lounge and I made 3 phone calls. 3 phone calls had answer phones. This was on a Sunday. So I hung up straight away. The 4th person that picked it up live. And I said to him, excuse me, can you tell me what this word means? He said, what's that? I said, MLM. I said, I think it might be make love monthly, make lots of money. What is it? He goes, oh, it's multi-level marketing. I said, and what is that? He said, oh, that's where you can build a team of people, marketing and selling products, and you can derive a benefit from what they sell. I was still confused as anything. So I said, okay, I went on. And he told me what the opportunity was, and I got involved. That was my very, very first experience to networking.
Wow. So you eventually met him one-on-one, or did you go to a big meeting and then?
No. This is all on the telephone.
Wow.
I'm the easiest person to sell to.
So back in the day, you just gave him his credit card number over the phone?
Yeah, it was funny because he turned around and said, okay, for the starter kit, it's going to cost you £25. He said, I expect you're one of these people that pay for everything on a credit card, don't you? I said, yep. He said, great, I can take that. What's your number? So I trotted across the hall to my bedroom, got my credit card number, and I gave it to him. I had seen no information, nothing about the company, nothing about the product, and that was it. And then he sent me the starter kit, and I thought, wow, this is really good, and everything else, and I made a few sales from the product.
I like the way he asked for that credit card. I think that's one of the things that holds distributors back is when they're asking for when closing the sale, they become really kind of timid, but he seemed really confident. I like he's like, you seem to be the ones who use your credit card, right? I like that.
Yeah, but you see, it's all about posture, as you know, and he had the right posture. See, too many people pussyfoot around and they get concerned about, oh my word, do I ask for the money? Well, how are you expected to make money unless you ask for the order? It won't happen.
Definitely. So what happened? You joined, you say you sold some products. How much money did you make? Did you have challenges or you had struggles? Because you came from a business background, right?
Yeah, obviously I've never done networking. I never even heard of what networking was. So I turned around and said to him, so what's the product? And he turned around and said to me, it's alternative designer fragrances. I said, what's that? He said, copy perfume. I said, nah, that's not for me. That's a female situation. He said, Simon, he said, is it the idea of selling fragrances that doesn't excite you, or the idea of making an extra 20,000 a year? Now, don't forget, 28 years ago, 20,000 was a chunk of money. It's still a chunk of money now. And I said, yeah, it's the idea of selling perfume. He said, if I could show you a way of making that 20,000 without touching the product, he did an assumptive close, you'd be interested, wouldn't you? I said, yep, sure would. He said, okay. It's going to cost you £25 to get started. And now expect you're one of these people to pay by credit card. I said, yep. He said, great. I take that. Trust it off, got my credit card. The rest is history.
Incredible. So what were some of the early challenges you faced?
Well, I got divorced from down in the southeast and I moved up to the northwest and I knew two people. Number one was the video guy that videoed our wedding. Number two was my sister-in-law. So I had no contacts. I didn't know how to find people, where to find people, why to find people. So then I said to my sponsor, I said, so how do I grow this and how do I build this? He said, okay. He said, let me ask you this question. How do you know me? I said, you placed an advertisement. He said, okay, you can do the same. I said, oh, right. So I said, he said, so do you want to place a national ad? I said, oh, no, that's a little bit too far gone for me. That's a little bit too big. Why don't I start small, then work up to it? He said, okay, you can work locally and put a local ad in. So that's what I did. I put a local ad in. But what happened in the house that we was living in, we wanted to build this patio in the back garden. And I've never, ever laid a brick. I've never done anything physical. And I built this whole patio myself. But what happened was that I pulled my back through lifting these 2 foot by 2 foot flagstones. And I laid flat on my back for 2 days. The interesting thing is because previously I'd sponsored the odd one or two people and I was flat on my back. But what I could do, I could pick up the telephone and I could take orders for the perfume. So on the Wednesday, I made £86 and on the Thursday, I made £92. And that was the light bulb moment. I thought, oh, really? I've done nothing and I've made just under £200. This is for me. Because I thought to myself, well, if I've made that, just imagine if I put some serious effort in, I could make a fortune.
So these people you're calling, they were from the newspaper ads?
Yep.
I see. And MLM Nation, don't forget, this is 28 years ago, way before Facebook or anything.
I know.
So what did the ad say? I'm just curious. What did the ad say? What was the call to action? And did you just have like a phone?
It might be an advert. It might be something like, it may not be your thing because it's different, so different. It's a big success story. Earning £1,000 a week, part-stroke, full-time. Interested, call.
And you basically had the phone right next to you at all times.
I lived on the phone.
So you're originally upline. He must have been pretty successful because the way you shared the story, he had an extremely good posture and the way he handled that product.
He was the top earner with the company.
Got it.
And the funniest thing is he used to live 3.5 hours away from where I live. So he said to me, okay, what you need to do, Simon, you need to get a bunch of these people around to your house. He said, I will come and do a presentation for you so you can see exactly how it works and we can sponsor those people into your business. I said, oh, that's going to be good. So we did that. I had 22 people scheduled to come around to my house. He traveled 3.5 hours to come and see me. One person showed.
Wow.
And that guy was a student from a university and he never joined. But he was sat there on the settee during the circles. He goes, yeah, you sponsor this person. They do this and they do this. And you make that. I'm getting so excited. Cause don't forget, this is the first time I saw the circles and he showed me the plan. And I said to the prospect, I said, there you go. Oh, wow. That's phenomenal. Anyway, so I learned very, very fast. Never travel 4 hours to see somebody, spend 4 hours to do a presentation, spend 4 hours to go home, and your prospect says, I'll think about it. But don't do that. Never do that.
But you got really excited. So how long were you in the business when this happened? Because it's like the first time you met was that the first time you also met your upline?
Yep. First time I met him. Spoke to him on the telephone, but that was the first time I met him. And that was literally It was about like 3 weeks down the road from when I actually joined.
I see. So how did you overcome that? What was the self-talk? Because most people, like 22 people, and one person shows up, they didn't join. You learned a lesson, never travel 3.5. How did you deal with that type of quote unquote failure?
Yeah, I learned very, very quickly because I wasn't successful and he was. I thought to myself, right, I'm going to pester the doo-doo out of you. I phoned him 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times a day saying, I've spoken to these people. They said this. I said this. What would you say? What would you say? What would you do? What would you do? And I must have been the bane of his life. But do you know something? It taught me to structure my own posture.
Yeah, that's very, very important. Throughout your journey, what was the aha moment? Was it the real moment where you went from 22 people, only one person showed up, and then to the point where you had a massive success?
Oh, that's quite easy, really. We had an event in a local hotel. This is going back, this must have been 3 months into my business. And I absolutely filled the room with just my people. And I thought, wow, this is phenomenal. And I qualified at the highest rank. And then I qualified as a separate rank that you actually qualify as an achievers member and all that sort of stuff. And I thought, this works. But it was the residual income I started to make. And I'm thinking, okay, so even if I go on holiday and even if I do different things, I can still make the money. And there's no limit to how much I can make. Where you get somebody that works for a company and they're salaried and they might be making 100,000 a year, they can't make 2, 3, 4, 500,000 a year. They can't make $1 million a year. So I thought to myself, okay, so this is dependent on my own effort. So if I put a massive amount of effort, and I'm not frightened of work, hard work to me comes like, hand and glove. It's like, it's a done thing. So yeah, I just thought I could make a fortune with this. And that really is when I got sold on the deal.
Now, we all know that success is a journey. So take us back to the time that would be the worst moment in MLM. Your toughest time where you maybe even had regrets that you did this business. And and what happened and what was the lessons that you learned from that?
Okay, this is going to sound weird because you're going to turn and say, I don't believe it. I didn't have any of those moments. I'm one of these people that I understand your altitude determines your attitude. And I knew that, it's down to me. If it is to be, it is up to me. So I just knew that I had to have a mega, mega positive mindset. And I wasn't going to be put down by anybody or anything. So I just literally people turn around and say, Simon, you got different types of animals. You got a rhinoceros that struggles to fit through the hole. I said, yeah, but the difference with me is I am the rhinoceros and I make the hole. You've got to have that bulldozer mentality. It's like my posture when I'm speaking to a prospect, when I do trainings and I cover objections and everything else, and I can see people in the audience gasping, thinking, I could never get away with that. I couldn't say that. And it is all down to posture. It's like, I don't think anything ever phases me. Anything ever puts me down. Why? It might be because I've made an absolute screaming fortune from it. Or it might be because I know when I sponsor people, one of the sentences I very, very often end the conversation after they join is I turn around and say to people, now listen, I'm going to say the most important sentence to you. You will quit me before I will ever quit you. Because I know I'm going to be doing this for 20, 30 years. And I know they might not. But I've got more chance of being in this business longer than what they are.
That is really good. You will quit me before I ever quit you. Talking to you really brings back memories of when I got started in MLM. I had my mentor, Steve Schwartz, which has been featured on MLM Nation. And I used to call him exactly, we were long distance, just like you and your upline. 3 or 4 times a day. And I think the thing that it wasn't necessarily the words he said, but it was really all about posture, right? Copying the posture. So getting back to what you said, that people say, I could never say that. What's another example of something that you would say with posture and confidence that other people struggle to say, but they should say?
Okay, well, see, when I speak to people, when I coach people, it's like I always turn around and say to the brand new person, right, do me this favor. Is it easier for you to phone me or for me to phone you? Now, let me ask you this question. Imagine if you have 1,000 people in your organization. Is it easier for you to make 1,000 phone calls or for 1,000 people to phone you and make one phone call? They say, oh, yeah. Easy for them to phone me. I said, well, there you go. That's the problem that I have. So you need to phone me every single day. Now, it could be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times a day. Don't worry about how many times you phone me. And do you know what the majority of people say? Oh, yeah, but you're going to be real fed up with me making those amount of phone calls. And I say, no. Let me tell you when I will get fed up with you is when you never make a phone call. When you never phone me, that means I say to myself, so Mary doesn't see it like me. Steve doesn't see it like me. I thought I had a good one. They're not in it. So it's like you've got to pester the life out of me, not me pester the life out of you. I will never pester you. I haven't got time to pester you. I will plug you into the system where you can keep contact. You get all the training, all the emails, all the social media and everything else. But you have to physically go one step further, and you've got to pick up the phone, pick up Skype, and you've got to contact me, because this is what won't happen. Let's say if you live 100 miles away, 10,000 miles away, you're never going to call me and say, oh, hi, Simon. What's the weather like in Formby? You're never going to say that. And if you do, I won't answer you. You have to ask a question about your business to move your business forward. Otherwise, your business is never going to work. And I tell you now, I will force you to make money whether you like it or not. But you've got to meet me halfway.
Is there any criterion for people to call you? Or is it anyone can call you as long as it's business related? I mean, can you call you for admin stuff? Oh, I can't log into my back office. Well, you basically set rules that it has to be around prospecting, like money making skills.
Yeah, I mean, anyone can call me really, but if they turn around and they want to know about their back office, if they want to know about corporate questions, then they need to either send a ticket into the back office or they need to speak to their upline. I'm really wanting to help them grow their business, grow their income. I haven't got time to waste time on nonsensical questions.
You know, talking about this calling, it's a really big lesson here of ML Nation listeners paying attention to this, because I know a lot of people who feel like Simon, I'm sure you met a lot of distributors. They feel like, oh, I shouldn't be bothering Simon. I shouldn't be calling him, right? And that, why do people even feel that way? It's all because of lack of self-belief. Like they don't feel, oh, Simon Brookes is very successful. I'm not there yet. I'm not. And I think it's that attitude, that lack of posture that prevents people from becoming successful.
Everybody thinks that way. Everybody that I speak to at events and they turn around and say, oh, yeah, I'll phone you. Or I've just sponsored them. Yeah, I will phone you every day. And do you know something? They don't. Very, very few actually make the phone call every day. And it's funny, you know, the ones that do are my top leaders. Isn't that interesting? So you guys looking and listening to this podcast for the very, very first time, whatever company you're in, phone your upline, phone your sponsor every day. Pester the living daylights out of your sponsor, because your sponsor is going to be more successful than perhaps what you are. And you need to learn and grow like your sponsor or your sponsor's sponsor. Now, it might not be your sponsor. It might be 2 or 3 levels higher, but you need to find somebody that you can gel with, that you can make sure that you call every single day. I've got people in my organization that I've not personally sponsored, but I speak to them several times a day.
And I think it's a great filter too. It basically tells you who to work with.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Who to work with. You don't even need to worry about the ones who don't call you. You just move on.
Well, you see, people that turn around and say, when I say to people, look, when you phone me every single day, guess what? When you sponsor somebody that does that to you, do you know what the first thing you're going to do? Oh no, what's that? You're going to pick up the phone, you're going to sort your Skype out, and you're going to speak to me, and you're going to say, Simon, we found another one of us. Because they're the sorts of people that you're looking for. You're not looking for Howard Hugheses. You're not looking for people that are going to hibernate. You're looking for people that want to get active. You're looking for people that want to build a significant business.
Let's shift gears a little bit. That was really good stuff. Let's talk about your son. I think for a lot of leaders who have children, and they're successful, their dream is to have their children get involved and not go into the corporate or job route. So share a little bit about your son. How did you get him interested in network marketing, and how has it been working with him?
Well, that's interesting, because I would have said that out of my whole network marketing career, this next subject is possibly the one that I hold dearest to my heart. Because how many people would love the thought not to just get their son or their daughter involved, but to get them involved, but for those people to be as good as you. That's the difference. He's not just my son, and he's not, he's made sort of like over $500,000 in his first 4 years, but it's the way he's respected from the organization, our CEO, and everybody in the business and in the industry. He is amazing. He really, really gets it. Now, a lot of my organization will be listening to this recording, so they will understand exactly what I'm saying. I mean, we do events and he does stuff, and, his mom and I, we're in tears with the emotion of how he shines. And it's funny, actually, because we've got 2 sons, and our youngest son, we always thought was going to be the one that followed in my footsteps and was going to do network marketing. Because my oldest son, who is Fraser Brookes, I mean, if you go on YouTube and put in Fraser Brookes, you will see so many videos that he's done. But everybody sees Fraser as like the main barometer of how the business is going. But we really hold it close to our heart, and we know that, he is our prodigy, and he is the one that's working our business as good as us. He sees it as good as us. And that is a real proud moment in a mother and father's life. But so he's doing real good. And I tell you now, he will outstrip my income hands down. And that's good. I'd love that.
How did you get him interested? He came to you saying he was interested, or you always wanted him to get involved?
Well, it's funny. I was involved in a company, and he saw the opportunity. I mean, don't forget, he went to his first meeting when he was in his mother's stomach. When he was an embryo, before he was born, he went to the very first convention that I've went to. And that's with this perfume company. And when going back recently, when he first got a look at it, I took him across to America to an event where there was thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back. That lit the spark. And he said, this industry is for me. And that really set the blue touch paper. And he thought, right, okay, I'm going to do this. Then obviously working it with me, obviously we both live in the same house, and working every day. We don't have time. I mean, okay, we can talk about football and stuff like that, but we talk about it 24/7. When people join my business, they don't just join my business. They get me and Fraser. So they get like a double whammy. And that's a real benefit for them.
I think it's really cool. Very, very cool. Especially at you two work together very well. Because sometimes father and son, I mean, it's hard to take a dad's advice sometimes.
Yeah. Right? But the interesting thing is we never argue and we never fall out about the business.
That is very, very cool.
We always agree, even agree to disagree, but we're always singing from the same hymn sheet.
So with your almost like 3 decades of experience, how have you seen network marketing change over the years?
I mean, going back, here's an interesting thing. This is the classic. When I first started network marketing, and we used to make phone calls from our British Telecom telephone. And I used to work in our house. And every time the phone rang, my wife and I had to tell the children, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. Dad's on the phone, dad's on the phone, dad's on the phone. Now, it's nothing to do with the phone. It's to do with whether it be Skype or whether it's Facebook or whether it's social media or whatever. So it's a total radical difference. I mean, going back when I was making phone calls and I was phoning prospects, phoning distributors and distributors phoning me, my phone bill used to be £300 a month. Now my phone bill is £3 a month. That's a good indication.
Wow. Do you see people more open to network marketing than before, or the skepticism or the negativity is about the same?
It's funny. I would have said that they are negative. I mean, people turn around and say to me, oh yeah, it's one of those networking things, or it's pyramid selling, isn't it? and so many distributors struggle with answering it. And it's like they think, oh, so what's the best advice you can give for that, Simon? I turn around and say to people, well, okay, well, let's just explore that. Are you a member of a church? Well, yeah. Really? Well, did you know that's the biggest pyramid you're ever going to get? Or they might turn and say, no, I'm not a member of a church. Okay, well, let's just talk of a normal product. Have you ever heard of Heinz baked beans? Yeah. Do you know how their system works, how their business model works? Well, not really. Well, you have a chairman who has a board of directors, who have salesmen who sell to wholesalers, who sell to retailers, who sell to the public. That is the biggest pyramid you will ever get. And people go, oh, right. So, if it works and if you're going to make a fortune, then why would you worry about it being a pyramid? It's not a pyramid because the DTI sat and wrote a white paper in August of 1990, legalizing network marketing as the most honorable and ethical business to become part of. So don't get a phobia about network marketing. It's just a different way of making money. But I tell you what, with your job, could you make $1 million a year? No. Oh, but it's one of those get rich quick things, isn't it? Really? Well, let me ask you a question. Do you know anyone that wants to get rich slow? Because guess what? I don't. But it's as get rich quick as you want it. If you want it fast, you can get it fast. If you want it slow, you can get it slow. It's your choice.
So that's really, really good advice about the MLM objection. So about posture, the way you answered. I love your posture. But do you see people more open to MLM now? Or has it been relatively the same?
I think it is predominantly the same. Some people more open because they've had a taste of it. And then you've got other people that turn around and say, yeah, I wouldn't want to touch it with a barge pole. That's because they've not had a good experience. That's because they've had a bad experience. So then you've got to really identify what experience have they had? Why hasn't it worked? Why haven't they made money? And let's see if you can change it.
Fantastic advice. Hey, Simon, as we wrap up the show, some really quick questions to pick your brain, okay? And one of them, and these could be quick answers, one of them, what is one of your favorite success quotes that motivates you?
Okay, that's possibly one of the easiest thing. And that says, thought determines what you want. Action determines what you get. See, we can think all day long about what we want. Never, ever, ever going to get it. But unless you put action in, then that's the only way you're going to achieve what you want to achieve. Now, whether that's going to be a rank that you want to get to in your company, or whether it means it's going to be a new car, new holiday, new home, or whatever.
What is one habit that's helped you become successful?
Okay, the best habit, I suppose, really is every single day I wake up, and I always focus and think, right, who am I going to prospect? Where am I going to prospect? How am I going to prospect? I prospect every single day. The trouble is when people join network marketing, they don't think about it 24/7. Now, other people turn around and say, oh, Simon, is it just networking? Well, I tell you what, if you want the lifestyle, yes, it is. Because otherwise you're never going to get the lifestyle. I mean, I've just taken my whole family to Thailand for a month. And we had a phenomenal time out there. We sponsored several people, we got several customers, and it was an absolute blast. We stayed in some phenomenal places. We had some phenomenal experiences. But you can't get those sort of experiences unless you do something like networking. Because I tell you now, a job doesn't cut it. A job doesn't do it.
What's the best advice you ever received?
Oh, the best advice I've ever received really is don't ever, ever quit. Quitters never win, and you never win if you quit.
What's your favorite prospecting tool? So say someone's qualified prospect, they're interested. Do you send them a link to an online video? Do you do a Skype call with them? Or do you use a newsletter tool? Or do you sit down and show a newsletter, a company magazine? What do you like to use?
Well, obviously, because our opportunities are global, I can't sit down with them because they're all over the world. Because a lot of people tell me, I say, oh, I've got involved in this company. It's really, really great. Really? Okay. So how many countries are you in? Oh, it's only UK. Okay. Have a great day. It's like, I wouldn't really be interested in, well, I wouldn't be interested in another company anyway, but I wouldn't be interested in an opportunity unless it was global. Because we've got a massive organization in Kazakhstan, Russia, and so forth. Now, if we were just UK, we wouldn't have that experience and that exposure. But getting back to how do I prospect people? Yeah, we've got our website, and we've got 3 videos there that explains all about the opportunity and the business and everything else. So that's really what it's about. Then once I've gone through that and I've actually got the person, then what I want to do is I want to build the relationship. The best way to build the relationship is verbal. You can't read tonality. So all these people think, oh, I'm going to send them an email broadcast. And they want to send emails after emails after emails. You can't read tonality, but you certainly can hear it. So I'm a great believer that I want to get somebody on Skype straight away. Plus the fact Skype is great for 3-way calls. So you can then turn around and you can take all the heavy lifting away from your new distributor by doing their 3-way calls for them, explaining the opportunity, the business, and everything else. So Skype, for me, is the way forward. It's amazing. See, when I first started, there was no such thing as Skype. It was weird because when I was involved and there was these telecommunication companies that were being launched, and people used to turn and say, oh, why are you doing that? Telephones are all going to be free soon. There's going to be a system that you can call people on telephones, and that's all going to be free. So it's like Skype, I think, was made for network marketing.
Yeah. Aside from Skype, any other online resources or apps that you could recommend?
We use WhatsApp all the time. We have so many groups on WhatsApp. I mean, Facebook is great social media because you can set up separate groups in Facebook. So I do trainings that I can put onto Facebook into a certain group of Facebook. But yeah, so social media is massive. Absolutely massive. And now when I first started networking, there was nothing to do with social media. Was a taboo word. It's like, what the hell are you talking about? It's like, bizarre, absolutely bizarre. But when you think, what we're part of is it's like a social media platform. The business that I'm involved with is all to do with e-commerce, which is growing at like 178 trillion a year. And that's really where the business is.
What's one book you could recommend to ML Nation?
One book is possibly the most common book that everyone would know, and that's Think and Grow Rich. I was going to say, if anyone wants to get hold of me, I'm not going to give my email address out, but you can contact me through Skype. But I will not accept you on Skype unless you do a certain ingredient. I will give you my Skype ID, which is Talk Now to Me. That's digit 2. So it's Talk, TALK, 2 is in digit 2, me, M-E. But then when you send your Skype request, you need to put in there Simon Chan. You don't put Simon Chan, I won't accept you. I get hundreds and hundreds of Skype requests, and it's like, it's got to be specific. So unless you put the word Simon Chan in, I won't accept you. And I would love to have a chat with you. You might turn around and say, Simon, I get these objections with my company. I get this, or what would you advise with this? And what would you advise with that? I'm open to talking about anything with anyone, but we need to go through the right protocols.
I love that. And Simon, thank you so much for your time. Your last question, the $1 million question. You ready?
Yep.
Here's the $1 million question. Imagine you had to start all over again and you knew no one. So you didn't even know your 2 sons, your wife, you didn't know anyone, but all your current knowledge, skills, and wisdom. So your contact list is 0. What's the first thing you do? I know you talk about running a newspaper ad. Would you still do that? Run an ad? What's the first thing or the first place you go to find prospects and build an MLM business from scratch?
Okay, well, if I hadn't have heard of network marketing and I didn't understand it, I would then be speaking. Obviously, for me to be involved in network marketing, I would have to have a sponsor. So my first port of call would be put my hands very gently around my sponsor's throat and turn around and say, help me. I understand that I can make millions and millions and millions from this profession, but I don't know anybody. Get me into a system, whether it's a lead generation system, which we use, or whatever system where I can get contacts after contacts after contacts. Otherwise, it's not going to work. I can't build a business without contacts. So I've got to have contacts. So you've got to help me with your company, with your system, with your lead generation, with your contacts. Because at the end of the day, when people join network marketing and they then go and sponsor, you say to them, you've got to put a list together of everybody you know, and they put 3 or 4 people together on a list. Then what happens is they speak to 3 or 4 of their friends, and guess what? 3 or 4 of their friends turn around and say, no, it's not for me. I'm not interested, or whatever. So where do they then go for? They then stop. They hit a brick wall because the average person sponsors 2.1 people each. So you've got to get them over that hurdle. Now we can put different systems in place and mechanisms in place, but unless you get the right mechanism, you need to make sure that you give them the golden growl. And the golden growl basically means that they need a system to find their leads. Because unless you got leads, you're never going to grow your business. So the leads are where it's at because they need to build their business. Now, a lot of people turn around and say, oh, just walk out in the street and you can just speak to people and everything else. That's fine. But there's only about 2% of the population that will ever do that. The majority of people will never do that. So you need to give them an easier solution.
Awesome. As we wrap up, any last words of advice?
Yeah. I suppose really it's like I'm in this for the duration. And if you're going to be in this business, all you people listening to this podcast, you're either in the business or you're all in the business. Or you're either in the business or the business is in you. See, you cut my veins and blood doesn't come out, MLM comes out. It's like I'm 110% focused on the opportunity. And that's really what it's about. And, you know, there's a lot of companies out there. They've got phenomenal products and they've got phenomenal systems and pay plans and everything else. And people say to me, oh, so what do? Do you show people the pay plan? I tell you now, if you want to get involved with your pay plan and you want to confuse the arse out your distributors, tell them all about your pay plan. You've got to be a rocket scientist to do that. I would never go down that road. I would always make sure I build the reputation, build sort of like the rapport with the person first. Then you talk about your products. Then you talk about your opportunity. I would never, ever talk to people about the pay plan. That would be the easiest solution to confuse your distributor.
MLM Nation, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And today you've been hanging out with Simon Brookes. So keep up the momentum and go to mlmnation.net and type in Simon, S-I-M-O-N, at the search bar and the show notes. Simon Brookes' contact info, his Skype number, and all the nuggets of wisdom he just shared will be right there. In order to be successful in network marketing, you must help others. So Simon, thanks again for sharing your valuable time with MLM Nation. We're grateful to you and we appreciate you for having a positive impact on millions of distributors worldwide. Thank you so much again, Simon, and God bless you. So there you have it. amazing show by Simon Brookes. So I shared with you before the how it took me forever to get on the show. Forget to get him on the show and the important follow up. And then what made this episode so special, not only what it took me forever, but he afterwards, he said, you know what? You should interview my son. He's pretty good. And you know what? His son is more than good. It's one of the legends, Fraser Brookes. And when I interviewed Fraser, Fraser was actually on episode 188. I think we recorded a couple weeks later. And then when I asked Fraser, he was like, hey, my dad told me this guy, he's kind of weird. He keeps following up with me, but he does happy birthday. But he interviewed me pretty well. Get on the show. So that's how I got Fraser on the show back in 2015. And that time Fraser was still building, which is thinking of going to the coaching space. And I think, you know, one of the greatest compliments, he said, being on MLM Nation inspired him to change his purpose a little bit and make even a huge impact by being a coach and trainer in the direct selling profession. So that is always really cool to play. You know, Fraser has been in the last 10 years amazing. It's just to think that I was a part of it when he was just getting started and help encourage him to do that. It's really, really cool. Means a lot to me. So anyway, go check it out. Fraser Brookes. Go follow him. He's still on social media. He's kind of retired, but go check it out. Please subscribe to us on the YouTube channel and also leave a review on us on iTunes or whatever podcast player, and especially the first one, MLM Nation Archives. We really want to lift up the profession. You know, I was just talking to someone this week who's in the dog training business and really skeptical and negative about network marketing. Now, he just had probably bad people approach him, but never knew about the goodness of network marketing. He only saw the bad, right? And I was sharing with him, every industry is bad. The real estate industry is bad. Stock, Wall Street, finance, there's scams everywhere, right? Politics is bad. You can say sports is scams. Athletes get in trouble. It's all bad. But there's also a lot of good in everything. And I think sometimes people just look at the bad in network marketing and forget there's so much good. So go out there, subscribe to the MLM Nation Archive, subscribe to MLM Nation, share it with your friends, share the goodness out there, right? Because as we lift up the profession, the general perception of our industry will change. And I think in many ways, it has changed a lot for the better in the last 10 years. Definitely has with these platforms. I'm grateful to even have this podcast platform, YouTube platform to really lift up the profession. And that's over to your turn. Hey, go subscribe, go connect with the Simon Brookes, and also subscribe to us on the YouTube, on the podcast channel, and take action on what you learn, raise up your confidence, and go out there, have a positive impact on someone's life. God bless you all.